If you've ever felt like you're doing all the right things, but love, money, and just feeling worthy of the things that you desire still feels out of reach, you're not broken. You're simply just running on old, outdated patterns that no longer align or serve you. And today, I'm going to walk you through how your self worth is wired into your brain and how rewiring it unlocks the next level of love, abundance, connection, and embodiment. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is RJ, and I'm here to share with you our step by step process in this episode. So make sure that you're taking notes on how to rewire and helping you to also understand what's actually going on underneath the surface. If you find yourself going through cycles where it feels like you are in a consistent loop every couple of years, or maybe you experience a breakthrough and then you find yourself reverting right back to your old habits. Maybe you keep attracting the same types of romantic experiences or the same type of men or women. If you're a man listening, you find yourself having arguments as soon as the relationship's going good. You just can't seem to stabilize once you have a breakthrough, or even stabilize enough for you to have the type of breakthrough that you desire. This episode is going to help you. Now, before we get started, if you do not know your love loop pattern, the 8 love loops are the 8 different sabotaging relationship patterns that are all rooted in a different core wound that I discovered throughout my 10-year industry experience of being in the coaching and the relationship industry. Then you want to go ahead and take the quiz so that you can discover your love loop pattern. You're going to go to the link in the bio or the lovelofts.com/quiz, because one of the first things that we talk about when I'm going through these steps later in this episode is knowing your pattern and why that is so important. So if you haven't taken the quiz, or if you took the quiz and maybe it was some time ago and you just forgot and you don't remember, then you want to go ahead and take the love loop quiz so that you know what your pattern is. Now, the second thing that you want to do is, once we finish this episode, make sure that you actually put yourself in a position to take some action. So you'll want to actually do the rewiring work, and you can do that in several ways through us. But here at the Love Loft, we assist you and provide you with the tools to support you in that. So you can either choose to simply just do a rewire kit, which gives you the opportunity to address that core wound, or you can actually make the decision to become a member of the Love Loft and join us as we intentionally not only help you to rewire, but help you to have the community and the support that you need as you're continuously growing and aligning with your next level. So go to the link in the show notes if you want to learn more about that and how you can be supported to actually take action and join us in this community. Be a part of soul-led high achievers and those who are guided to a higher path, that are doing it together with intention and strategy. You're combining the science and the spirituality together to actually make things happen. So now let's talk about the background. Let me give you some background understanding in case you're new to this podcast or you're new to this type of work and you're not really familiar with, why are we talking about patterns? Why are we talking about rewiring? What is the subconscious mind? Any of that, which is totally understandable, because years ago, when I hit a really monumental rock bottom in my life, I was going through so many different things at the time, and I got to a point where I knew that it was time for me to change. It was time for me to make some major shifts. I was just tired. I was tired of not feeling worthy. I was tired of going through some of the pain and struggles that I was going through in both love and money. I was tired of being super emotionally reactive and triggered, and just a lot of things around me. It was definitely a crumbling that was going on in my life, where I was being put on a path to get in alignment with my higher self and to really take a deeper look at me and stop looking outward. And so one of the things that I became like nearly obsessed with was trying to understand how to change my way of being, how to think differently, how to reprogram myself, because I knew that there was something on a much deeper level that needed to shift. And for me, my go-to wasn't therapy. I started learning about Well, I had already been meditating for a while. I've always been, religious and spiritual and all of that for a long time. So that wasn't really what I focused on as much at the time. But I did start getting more into meditative practices, sound baths. I got certified in Reiki. I started investing in coaching. And these tools are the tools that helped me. But I also had a membership to help me to rewire my subconscious blocks. And as I started studying, reading books like Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, uh, the book by, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm not thinking of it right now, but You Are a Badass at Making Money. You Are a Badass at Making Money. That was the book by Jill. And then so many other books that I started studying by Dr. Philip Murphy, and understanding the subconscious mind and how it works. I invested in memberships to help me to rewire my mind and to understand this. And I started incorporating and bringing this all together. And through that, I was able to manifest captivating courtship, manifest the Love Loft. I was able to manifest the 8 patterns. All of these things came about as I started shifting and rewiring my brain. But it also took me to really shift my way of being and my self-worth so that I can get into alignment with the version of myself that felt worthy and capable and able to carry out the vision. So everything that I'm sharing with you today and everything that I talk about on this podcast is not just stuff that I'm saying because it's regurgitated or because I oh, this sounds really good. No, these are things that I have actually done. I am a completely different person than I was 10 years ago, 6 years ago, 7 years ago, a year ago, completely different person. And it's because I continuously do the work. I didn't just do the rewiring or do a Reiki session and then that was it and then just moved on with my life. No, because that's how you end up falling back into old patterns. I adopted all of this as a way of being. And so if you are going to take the steps forward, the first thing I want to say before we even get into the background is that I want you to understand that the inner work and the work of rewiring is not painful. It's not painful. And I know sometimes when people think about rewiring the brain and subconscious blocks or shadow work or any of that, they necessarily associate it with a lot of pain. And I'm not saying that things may not come up that may trigger emotions. But on the other side of that, it's a cleansing. And once you are able to address those blocks, it actually allows you to be super emotionally liberated. And that is emotionally freeing. And that is the space that you need to be in so that you have the emotional capacity to expand and to do more. So I just wanted to put that disclaimer out there for you. If you are new to this, if you have not worked with us or you haven't taken any steps forward and you're feeling a little uncertain or scared or not really sure about how this will impact you, what I'm telling you is that this is the type of work that is freeing. This is the type of work that allows you to release control, that allows you to shift emotionally, that allows you to see life through a different lens, that allows you to see yourself through a different lens. It's not about just digging up trauma and pain and hurt and going deep into the No, it's about allowing yourself to be emotionally liberated and how that's going to shift. I'm seeing so much talk about living a soft life, and this applies to men and women, but living a softer life, having a softer way of being. And I do think that the time period that we're in, people are shifting. People are looking for change. We've gone through so much with COVID and, the elections and just so much over the years that people are looking to adjust. They're looking for a higher source. They're looking to release a lot of things emotionally. They're looking to slow down. They're looking not to hustle as much. And if you have been programmed and wired to operate in that way of being for so long, that is all that you know. And so doing the intentional work, learning how to create a life for yourself that implements more ease, that allows you to flow more, that allows you to be more spiritually connected, that allows you to be more emotionally balanced and stable, but also allows you to step into your worthiness so that you feel more confident, you feel more aligned, you feel more capable. This is the work that is required. Now, if you're unfamiliar with the background of how we even get here, how do we get to these places of these subconscious blocks, of these sabotaging patterns, of these wounded beliefs and these core wounds that keeps us on repeat for years, sometimes you have these underlying blocks and stories that you're not even aware of, that's holding you back, that's keeping you. And that is, I'll just share a personal story. Very recently, I had an experience, and I'm not going to go too deep into it because I'm still processing, but I finally was able to close a 20-year loop that I did not know I was operating in. A 20-year loop. And this loop has affected my romantic relationships for so long, and I did not have the level of awareness or the clarity to know that this was even something that was still lingering in my subconscious. And so to finally get clarity that, oh, wait, this is a story that I've been operating in since age 18, almost 20 years. No, it has been 20 years. I've been operating in this story about my romantic love life for 20 years subconsciously without even realizing it. When I got that clarity, I'm talking about in the last week, and was able to finally close the loop and close that chapter and release it. When I tell you the amount of emotional freedom, damn, I didn't even know that I never grieved that pain. I didn't know that I never grieved that breakup when I was 18, because I just pushed through. And even though I've moved on, I've gotten married, I've done all the things since then, but that background story and that pain that I never actually grieved because I just kind of just moved on and I didn't actually sit with it. When I was actually able to realize that that had been holding me back and impacting me in so many ways for 20 years, subconsciously without me even knowing, I was able to actually close the loop, to close the story. And I'm still processing that. I'm still processing it because it's been less than a week. I'm still processing just how much that story and that lack of grief has affected me subconsciously without me even realizing it for 20 years. Like, that's how deep this work goes. So when we talk about closing the loops and really getting to the subconscious blocks, you don't know what's actually running the show. You don't know what's actually making the decisions. And so having the support system with this, whether you're using the tools and doing it yourself, or if you go deeper and you book a heart spa experience and you allow us to guide you through it. But being in a space where you are truly putting yourself in the position to win and let go of the old story is life-changing, because most never do. And most people continue to operate in the same story and the same script year after year, decade after decade, for the rest of their life, until they finally hit some sort of rock bottom that pushes them to finally make a different decision. And what I'm telling you is that you don't have to wait for a rock bottom. You don't have to wait to be put all the way down to finally do something different. You can take a way shorter path. What may have taken someone else 10 years or 20 years or 5 years to figure out, you could probably do it in just a few weeks or a few months. So this is the type of work, especially with the heart spa. If you decide to book a heart spa experience, you can get it done in a day. You can get to the bottom of what is actually holding you back in a single day. So let's dive into it. Let's talk about the background of how these patterns actually begin. And when we're talking about the neuroscience of it and the study of the brain, you have to understand that most of your core emotional patterns are formed by the age of 7. And they're formed by the age of 7 through repetition, through modeling, and through different traumatic experiences. Now, let me just stop right there and break this down for you, because I think when people hear the word trauma, often they're thinking about things that are majorly impactful. But trauma for a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old or a 4-year-old doesn't have to be a super major event. It could be, but it doesn't have to be. Now, after age 7, your brain is still developing. So even when you go up to ages 14, or even like I just gave the story of what happened to me, like, me realizing that there was like something I never grieved at the age of 18, your brain is still developing. So you're still taking on modeling and messaging. But when we talk about what happens before the age of 7, really what we're focusing on is just some of these core emotional patterns. So let me give you an example of what trauma could look like for a 4-year-old or a 5-year-old that might not be a majorly traumatic experience to an adult or to someone else, but how that child processed it. And everyone processes differently. This is why you can have children who grew up in the same household who had very different experiences and see their life and their upbringing extremely different, because everyone processes very differently. And so if you look at, for example, one of the things that I can say was probably a traumatic experience for me growing up that wasn't intentional. It wasn't something that my parents did purposefully, but it was something that happened. If you were ever the kid who was like the last one to get picked up, or back in the day, I don't know where you live, but like growing up in Philadelphia, we had stores like Caldor and Strawbridges. I might be telling my age a little bit right now, but we had stores like Caldor and Kmart and all of those types of stores back in the day. And I can remember having to go to the customer service to ask them to page my mom because I couldn't find her in the store, right? Like getting lost in the store and them having to page my mom on the loudspeaker and tell them to come to customer service to come get me. While that might not seem like something major, that triggers abandonment. If you're a 5-year-old that's extremely scared and you have to be independent and you don't know where your caretaker is, So these are the types of things that may not be a majorly traumatic event. Now, you may have gone through some majorly traumatic things. You may have experienced abandonment. You may have experienced a majorly traumatic event. Or, it may not be abandonment. It may be something else that's happened. But you may have gone through an actual major traumatic event in the womb. As a baby, you may have witnessed your parents going through something or your parents fighting, and you took on that energy and you took on that modeling. You may have experienced it personally yourself, or it may be something small, but how you processed it in your little world as a child, that created a core belief and a core emotional pattern. So this is why you have to understand that the beliefs that you have, the messages that you've taken on, and the version of yourself that you're currently being may not actually be truly authentic to you if you are fully in your worthiness, because of the things that you experienced so early on and how your brain decided to process it. And this is where rewiring really comes in and why it's so, so, so needed. Now, as you're going through these different experiences and you're simply just trying to figure out how to navigate life, you're trying to figure out as a child how to survive. You're trying to figure out how to be loved. You're trying to figure out how to stay safe, right? These are the things that you are naturally trying to figure out as a child, because here's the thing. If you aren't aware of this, your brain is not here to make you happy. Your brain is not here to help you to make money. Your brain is not here to help you to find love. Your brain is not here to, try to, acquire all the amazing things in life. That's not what your brain is wired to do. Your brain is here to keep you alive. That's your brain's primary function, to keep you safe and to keep you alive. And so as you are a little child, you are trying to figure out, how do I stay safe? How do I survive in this environment? And how do I stay loved? How do I become lovable? Because if you are loved, you are safe and you are protected. So your brain's building these neural pathways, these this basically like these wires, these mappings, right? These highways inside of your brain. And these neural pathways are formed around familiar emotions. That could be like abandonment, rejection, scarcity, whatever those emotions are. And your brain is just seeking to find the same emotional experience and the same emotional pattern over and over again, because even if it doesn't feel good, it feels safe because it's predictable. Your brain is looking to keep you alive. And so if it can predict, well, if I take this action, it will lead to this emotion, and I know what this emotion feels like, even if it doesn't feel good, I know what it feels like. I know what this experience is like. And so I need to create this again and again and again in order to function. And because your subconscious is running about 90 to 95% of your behavior, if your subconscious doesn't believe that you're worthy of love, that you're worthy of money, that you are worthy of having the better lifestyle or having the thing that you desire, then the actions that you take will reflect that. So you can look at your life right now, no matter what you're telling yourself on your conscious level, no matter how hard you try consciously, no matter what you want to believe on a conscious level. If right now, if you look around, if you do not have the things that you desire, if you do not have the life that you want, if you do not have the love that you want, it's because deep down inside, you do not truly feel you are worthy or deserving of it. Now, when we take things from a spiritual lens, and I'm always going to bring it back to the spiritual, I don't care if you say God, Allah, source, spirit, universe. I don't personally care how you get back to the source. I always say the source on this podcast because I feel like it's just a universal term. But when we come into this world, when we enter this planet, we are born whole. So those same limiting beliefs, those emotional patterns, the trauma, all those things, you didn't come to this planet with those. Your soul did not enter this planet. It did not enter the fetus. It did not enter your mother's womb with those things. However, as you go through different experiences, like I said, this can even start in the womb. This is how babies come out with a lot of stress and anxiety because they were stressed in the womb because of the experiences through their mother, right? The experiences in their environment. But when you go through the experiences of rejection, neglect, different trauma, you don't have your emotional needs met, then it creates this separation from your high self-worth. You start taking on all these messages because you're having a very human experience on this planet and you're trying to figure out how to survive. So that worthiness that you were inherently born with, that soul purpose that you were inherently born with, gets chipped away at. And so the illusion begins that you aren't good enough, you're not lovable, you're not worthy. And the only way to address this is to heal by returning back to your original vibration, back to a place of wholeness and love, which is why we're called the Love Loft, is to return to the self, returning to the source. So you have to return back to that wholeness and that worthiness so that you can, one, be in alignment with your highest self and the version of yourself that you're supposed to be, back in alignment with the frequency of love, which is the highest vibration, but also so you can actually be in alignment to create the life that you want. If you have a desire for something, it is available to you. It is because it is available to you. If you desire for love, it's because a loving partner does exist for you. If you have a desire for marriage, it's because the marriage is available to you. You desire to be rich is because of the fact that that money and the riches are available to you. Every single thing that you want is available to you. There is a version of you that is capable of having it and attracting it. You just have to get in alignment with that worthiness that allows you to have it and to keep it. Now, when you don't rewire, and this is the mistake that people make, right? You might be like, okay, I get it. I have this trauma. Maybe I've gone to therapy. Maybe I've sat in some healing circles. Maybe, I've talked about it. I've journaled it, whatever the things, but I still haven't actually shifted. I still don't have the things that I desire. Well, it's because you haven't actually done the rewiring. And you'll know this because if you're staying in cycles where you're still chasing emotionally unavailable love, or you're attracting partners that don't want the same type of love or the same type of commitment that you want. Maybe if you're in business, let's say you have your own business or you're trying to start a business, but you're undercharging, you're overgiving, or you feel guilty for receiving. You feel like you're asking for too much, or you're afraid to ask for what you want. You're afraid to ask for more. You're afraid to sell. You're afraid to put yourself out there. This is a sign that you're out of alignment with the worthiness that you need in order to have what you want. Maybe you tend to self-sabotage when things are going well. You're working out and you are eating healthy and you're starting to lose weight, and then you just self-sabotage and you throw all of it away and you go back to your old ways. Maybe you have a healthy relationship and you attract a healthy partner, and then you decide to break up, or you decide to cheat, or you decide to take some type of step that's going to cause you to self-sabotage and break the very thing that you said that you wanted. Every single time you get something good, you end up messing it up. I think it was like Kanye West said, like, I know how to mess up a good thing, right? Like maybe you're doing that. Or if you stay in cycles of just feeling not enough, not good enough, not worthy enough, not having enough money, you're scared to spend money, you hoard money, as the idea of money makes you very stressed. Maybe when it comes to love, you get clingy, you get anxious, you get needy. Maybe you shut down and withdraw. Maybe you ghost even though you like the person. All these types of things are all rooted in you not actually doing the inner work to rewire. When you actually do the work and you step over that, that is where you're going to step into that space of overflow. And that is what we want for you. I want you to be in a space where you are so abundant, so radiant, so magnetic, so attractive that you're stepping into a space of overflow instead of being in a space of lack. You're attracting from a place of abundance instead of attracting from a place of scarcity and fear and control. You're in a space where you can magnetize the healthy love that you want and all of the aligned opportunities. You have the confidence and the ability to step into that worthiness instead of shrinking and settling for what you don't actually want. You stop trying to prove or trying to chase or trying to be chosen, and you allow yourself to be that magnetic force that you inherently actually are, so that you can actually begin living in your power and the inner peace that you need in order to be emotionally liberated and emotionally free. So what are the 6 steps that we take you through here at the Love Loft? Well, here is the exact process that we take you through so that you can, one, have a strategic plan to actually implement, but so that you also have a repeatable process so that you understand how to do this for yourself. And this is something that I so passionately love and embrace about the Love Loft, because of the fact that we break down the process for you so that you can use the tools to consistently reinforce new neural pathways, get in alignment, and keep leveling up step by step. You know exactly what you need to do. You know exactly what you need to refer to so that you can navigate this, whether it's love, money, you want to, have a new vision, you want to step into a new lifestyle, whatever it is, this process applies and works for you. So the first thing that you have to do is, first, we need pattern awareness. You need to be clear on what your love loop pattern is so that you know what your current core wound is that's driving your current outcomes. So let's just say, for example, if you're the trophy chaser and your core belief or your core wound is rooted in emotional and financial security and not having enough, then you already know that you have to be extremely mindful and intentional, because your next level is going to require you to challenge that. Where are you leaning on others financially? Where are you making decisions from a place of not enough when it comes to finances? Where in your love life are you allowing not enough to be enough for you? Where are you settling? Where are you shrinking? Where are you outsourcing your emotional security? Where are you outsourcing your sense of validation? You have to be aware of where this is coming up. So that pattern awareness is very, very important. Let's just say you are an allure. Maybe if you're an allure and your core wound is value, not knowing your value, not being in your value, then before we even get started on getting clear on your vision, what you want, you need to take inventory. Where am I not showing up in my value? Where am I making decisions from scarcity and not from a place of value? Where am I focusing on quantity over quality? Where am I allowing others to ignore my value? Where am I need to set boundaries around my value? Where am I need to be more embodied? How do I need to make decisions from a place of value and not from a place of, let me just take what I can get, or this works for right now, or this is just enough? I need to shift into a more empowered version of myself that is all centered around value. So the first thing you need is that pattern awareness so that you can take inventory, because this is always going to be the major key to push yourself to that next level. So let's just go back to the allure, for example. If you're an allure and you're like, okay, I'm ready I want to step into this next level. I'm going to create my vision. But right now, the first thing I need to be aware of when this is coming up for me. Okay, I made this purchase, or I chose this person, or I'm going after this opportunity. I'm launching this business. I'm doing whatever. And I'm still showing up from a place that lacks value. I'm still making decisions from just trying to get as much as I can get right now and not focusing on the long game, not focusing on value. I'm not embodying my value. You need to be aware of where that's showing up for you. Now, the second thing is vision. So step 2 is we want to get clear on that vision. So whether it's a vision for your love life, a vision for your money, maybe you want to launch a business, maybe you want to take your business to the next level, maybe you want to go after a greater career opportunity, maybe you don't want a career at all, maybe you just want to figure out how can I attract money doing as little as possible. But whatever that vision is for you, we need to get clear on what the vision actually is. What do you actually want? Maybe you just want a lifestyle upgrade. Maybe you just want a whole lifestyle upgrade. You want to upgrade your looks or your physical appearance. Maybe it's your way of being. Maybe it's where you're shopping, where you're spending your time, who you're spending your time with. You just want to become a greater version of yourself. You want to step more into your self-worth. You want to attract more of the things that you want, but you keep shrinking yourself down. So you need to create a clearer vision. This is where we do the vision mapping so that you can know what level you're actually playing at right now, and you have an actual roadmap to do that. So inside the vault, you're going to do the next level vision. You're going to do the expansion map. You're going to work through the journal prompts so that you get very clear on the vision. Or you can just simply book a heart spa day where we really guide you through that process. And it's very one-to-one, goes super deep to help you to get crystal clear on what do you actually want and how can you create that for yourself. So we want to do that for your long-term vision. And it's about not just trying to attract from ego. This is very important when it comes to creating your vision. Your vision has to be authentic, which is why you want to do the subconscious work and the subconscious rewiring, because if you are trying to create a vision from ego and it's not authentic to you, you're not going to be able to attract it. You're not going to get in alignment with it. And even if you do from ego, it's not going to last forever because it's not going to be authentic to you. And you're going to end up self-sabotaging. So we want to create a vision that's in alignment with your authenticity, what you actually desire, and from your higher plane. Now, the third step is to do the rewiring. This is where the rewiring actually comes in. So we want to use tools like hypnosis, the heart healing visualizations, sound, well, not really the sound baths. We want to use the hypnosis. You can either do a hypnosis session with us, do a heart spa session with us, or you can go inside the Love Loop Rewire Vault, or you can just get a Rewire kit. And you want to do the heart healing visualizations. You want to do the journal prompts. You want to do the workshops so that you are actually addressing your inner wounds. Now, inside of the vault, it's very specific to what you need to work on. And you can create your own map for what you need to work on so that you can get to the root of it. You can also book a session with me, or you can book a session with someone from the Love Loft to help guide you through what actually needs to take place. Like, what do you actually need to rewire? You may need to do shadow work. You may need to do inner child. You may not need to do that. You may need to unblock beliefs. You may need to, but we guide you through the process so that you know exactly what you need to do and you can do that. But even if you just go by the Rewire Vault, you go inside of your Love Loop pathway, you'll be able to navigate the different workshops so that you know what steps you need to take according to what's coming up for you. Each of the heart healing visualizations and the workshops are specific to unblock a different trigger or a different belief or something that needs to shift within you to open you up emotionally and to create that emotional freedom. But you have to do the rewiring. You have to get to the root. I saw something recently. I was watching a video on YouTube and someone was giving like manifestation advice, and she wonderful. I can't remember her channel name, but it was, I mean, overall I thought her content was really great. Like I enjoyed listening to her. She had a great personality. But one of the things that she said was like, you don't have to rewire, you don't have to go back and do any inner child work, any shadow work, you don't have to address any of the triggers or wounds. You can just manifest, and quantum leap. Now, that may be true on the surface, but the problem is being able to sustain it, being able to not just attract it, but keep it, so that you're not in these feast or famine cycles and you're not repeating cycles every few years. You may be able to attract it, but if you end up right back where you started because you haven't actually broken the loop, you haven't actually closed the cycle, then you're going to end up right back where you started. So you do need to do the subconscious work because your subconscious is running the show. Now, step 4 is what I call energy shedding. And this is one of my favorite parts of the process, because with energy shedding is where you're going to let go of all the emotional clutter that's stored. You want to let go of the trauma, the outdated relationships, the limiting beliefs, the old habits, the old routines, old environments that no longer serve you. You're going to open up. You can even choose to do like a Reiki session. You can do a sound bath session, anything that's going to help you to clear energy if you need to clear some additional energy. But you can do the detox. You're going to do the energy shedding, and you're going to clear the emotional space that's needed. This is really one of my favorite things. I mean, how much energy shedding you may need to do to clear space is very different for each person. This is why having some guidance in this process is super helpful. But getting rid of old clothing, old habits, old routines, old systems, old services, old products, old jobs, old friends, old relationships. Like, there's so much energy shedding that can take place to open up that level of abundance. But when you clear that space, then you'll be ready for our step 5. And step 5 is when you take that big leap of action. Now, let me say this. A big leap of action is basically just your big, bold action that's going to align you with your new identity and keep you in that new identity. And when you take this big leap, sometimes the leap comes to you. Sometimes you don't have to actually go after it. Sometimes that leap comes to you. It might be an opportunity. You might just manifest an opportunity where someone reaches out to you, or they connect with you, or they offer you an opportunity. You might have the big leap where, the partner that you've been calling in and the type of person that you want just shows up in your life, and you're like, wow, like I wasn't expecting this. Maybe, it's a job offer comes your way. Maybe it's a move, it's a relocation. Maybe it's an intentional decision that you have to take, but that big leap can come. Either you manifest it and it just shows up and you just have to make that decision to say yes and be in alignment, or that big leap could come from you taking the intentional, bold action because you know that it's a step that you need to take to get in alignment. But either way, you have to take a big, bold action that's going to get you in alignment with your new identity. This could also be setting a boundary. It could be setting a boundary. It could be asking for more. It could be raising for prices. It could be asking for a promotion. It could be ending a toxic dynamic. There's so many things that you could be saying yes to, that you have to take that bold step that's going to get you in alignment with that new decision. And then you have to continue to stay in this through continuing to develop your self-worth, because this is when your worthiness becomes real. This is when the tests come up of, do you actually want it? Are you actually who you say you are? Are you actually ready for this? So by you making that decision to be bold and to take that bold leap, that is when you get the opportunity for the thing to come through. And then the last thing that we do here at the Love Loft and how you rewire is through emotional integration. So we want to do emotional embodiment and keeping your nervous system safe, because this is where a lot of times you'll end up self-sabotaging when you feel triggered, when you started making these changes and making these adjustments, and you're shifting to a new way of being, you're shifting to a new timeline, you're shifting to a new identity. But if you keep going so hard, you'll fry your nervous system, you'll go into burnout, you'll go into that feast or famine cycle and revert back to your old ways. So taking the time to integrate is so important. And you can simply do this with repetition. You can do this with the heart healing visualizations. You can do this with a sound bath. You can do this with Reiki. You can do this with, coaching. You can do this with being in community just to help you to get grounded. But you can also do it by rest. going out in nature, sitting by some water, going for a walk, spending time with self, just being in rest mode. It might be self-care. It might be some type of pampering, but whatever. It might be going out to dinner, going to a movie, but whatever you have to do to rest. So, for example, something that, recently I've been really focused on creating healthy habits and being consistent with walking several miles a day, eating healthy, counting calories, being really intentional about my nutrient intake and my protein and my fiber and just all the things. And for the past few weeks of like being intentional about this, I noticed over the last week, I've been feeling like my body just needed rest. My body just needed rest. And I wanted to push through, and I started to feel guilty, like, no, you need to be doing more. You need to be pushing yourself more. But then I realized that I've been shifting this identity around maintaining my new way of being when it comes to my health, taking care of myself, because I want to build long-term healthy habits. And part of that is also making sure I get enough sleep, making sure I get enough rest, making sure that I take care of myself and I'm not fighting my body when it needs rest, when it needs to just be taken care of and supported. So I gave myself grace and I gave myself the opportunity to just integrate. And for about a week, I really allowed myself to decrease the amount of workload that I usually would do and would usually take on, decrease the amount of emotional pressure that I was under. That's just a sign of survival mode, and really push myself to show up for myself in a way that was going to allow this new way of being when it comes to taking care of my health to just be a new way of being, to allow that to just be my new natural state and give my body time to adjust. So your body needs time to integrate so that it doesn't go into, oh my gosh, I've been, sacrificing eating well, working out, doing all the things. Let me go self-sabotage by go eat a bucket of Popeyes. I really wanted a bucket of Popeyes the other day. But let me not go self-sabotage, because now I have the emotional capacity to really think about my choices, to be intentional about my choices, and not to react to how I'm feeling in the moment due to stress and burnout. So integration is so important, even when it comes to relationships. One thing that I know, especially for those who are anxiously attached or those who are avoidant, if you attract a new partner, you attract love, things are feeling good, you're high in oxytocin bonding, life is looking amazing, and then your nervous system cannot hold the relationship because you're not used to that level of connection, that level of intensity, that level of chemistry, and you go into over functioning. Maybe you shut down and you withdraw because it feels like too much pressure and it feels like too much stress. The relationship feels too emotionally intense. Maybe you go into leaning in and seeking security and seeking validation and seeking affirmation because you feel emotionally triggered and you feel like the relationship is so intense that you're afraid of being abandoned or rejected or disappointed or any of those things. And so your nervous system didn't have time to integrate the relationship when really what you needed to do was create some space at that time to tend to yourself, allow your emotions to adjust to this new relationship and this new identity and this new way of being so that you can emotionally hold it without creating drama, conflict, or self-sabotage. So this is just some of the ways that this can show up and why the integration piece is so important. Now, let me just really quickly, before we close this out, I want to go back to the spiritual piece of why this is so important when we talk about nervous system integration. When it comes to your nervous system from a spiritual lens, you have this energetic field that's around you. Energy is real. If you're listening to this and you're like, I don't know about this energy thing, it sounds very woo, I get it, but here's the thing. You cannot believe in science. When you were growing up and you were in science class, you learned that energy is everything. Everything contains matter. Everything contains energy. Energy cannot be created or destroyed, right? It simply exists or it's in a potential state. If you understand it, you understand that energy is very real. If you're denying energy, and you've never felt a shift when somebody comes in a room and they just suck the energy out of the room, or someone comes into the room and their presence and energy just lights up the room. Maybe you feel just more peace and calm when you're in other people's presence. If you're in denial that energy is real, then I need you to take a step back and really examine life and look at things from a different lens and be more open. But because you have this energetic field around you, and energy is always in a state of flow, right? Everything comes down to, do you feel safe to receive? Because the flow is the give and the take, right? This is when we talk about money as currency. It has to flow. There has to be a giver and there has to be a receiver. If you're just hoarding and you're just keeping and you're not giving, then you're not creating the flow for money to come, for money to be abundant. You're not in an abundant state with money. If you are scared of love, if you're trying to control the relationship, if you're emotionally shutting down, or if you're clinging to love and you're afraid of being hurt and you're operating from a place of fear or control or any of those lower emotions, then you're not in a healthy state to give and receive love. Love cannot flow. There has to be a giver and a receiver. It has to be a reciprocation. This is how you stay in a space of abundance. If you are shrinking when it comes to your worthiness, when it comes to your next level, and you're shrinking and you're hiding and you're afraid of being seen and you're afraid of being heard, then you're not stepping into the flow of worthiness. You're not stepping into the abundance of worthiness. So there's no flow for you to be in your most worthy self because you're not in a state of flow and abundance when it comes to your self-worth. So this subconscious work is going to be the soul reset that you need, because you need harmony inside of your soul. Your brain needs reputation regulation and new neural pathways, and your spirit needs to be able to trust, surrender, and embody your highest space and your highest self. So the worthiness that you need and the worthiness that you're seeking, it's not something that you're going to earn. It's simply just something that you're going to remember. You're going back to your roots. You're going back to your sense of self, of who you were before you even came to this planet. So right now, I hope that you enjoyed this episode. I want you to ask yourself, what is the pattern that you need to shift? What is the way of being that you need to shift? And I invite you to do that. I invite you to go to the links in the show notes and get started with a Rewire kit. This is going to be a kit of heart healing visualizations and workshops that's going to allow you to start the rewiring process according to your specific love loop pattern. It's going to focus solely on rewiring that core belief. And if you want to go deeper, and if you are ready to really get in alignment with that next level of love and money and worthiness and lifestyle that you desire, if you want a community to do it with, if you want guidance and you want the support, because this is a new way of being in a certain lifestyle, then I invite you to book a consultation and come join us at the Love Loft. It doesn't matter where you're located in the world. It doesn't matter if it's local or not. We are able to help you and support you through this. You will have your own spirit team. Like, how amazing is that, to have a team to support you through this process? And we want to figure out how we can help you, how we can guide you and help you to do the internal work, but also help you to level up and close those cycles that you've been wanting to break free of for so long. We get amazing results. Our clients shift so quickly in amazing ways. And with the Heart Spa experience, that one-day shift will change your life. So I welcome you to do that and to join us here at the Love Loft. But check out the links in the show notes and make sure that you also share this episode with someone who will benefit from it. Share the quiz with someone who will benefit from it. Let's grow this community together. Leave a review if you enjoyed this episode. Please leave a review. Leave us a comment. Let us know that this was helpful for you so we continue to create the content that'll benefit you. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful week, and I'll talk to you soon.